Hello, everybody. Thank you for clicking on this video. Hope it finds you well. My name is Lex the Gray. I make solo RPG videos, and I wanted to make a video about why I do what I do. I've been making these kind of videos for over a year now, and I've talked about this before in other videos, though not as formal. So I thought I'd do 5 reasons why I enjoy solo RPGing, as I refer to it as. Number one, it's out of the norm. I've been playing RPGs for, like I said, over a year now. Been highly addicted to it. It's like a drug, just can't get off of it. And my whole life, I've regretted not really playing RPGs, whether it was board games or tabletop RPGs or mixed those two together. I just never really stumbled upon it. I knew about Dungeons and Dragons for X amount of years, but it didn't take until seeing the recent Dungeons and Dragons movie, not really necessarily Stranger Things, but the movie itself with Chris Pine, to really get into D&D with my friends. Friends, quote unquote, only two of them. So it's out of the norm because at first I was playing with a group. It's a very, very small group. And then I discovered a certain YouTube channel called Me, Myself, and Die that's run by Trevor Duvall. He's a voice actor in Canada, I think Vancouver. He's making his own Broken Empires RPG game, and I highly recommend watching and following his channel. But he makes these seasonal videos or seasons of himself playing RPGs by himself. When I first stumbled upon it, I was confused. I was thinking, where's the other group of people? And then after watching it for a few minutes, I understand, oh, he's playing this RPG. I think his first season was Savage Worlds, which ironically I'm actually learning right now. And then eventually Dominion and a few other systems he's thrown in there, but with the same characters. But after watching his very entertaining, well edited video series, Me, Myself, and Die, I got hooked on. This was the entry drug for me. This was phenomenal. And it's out of the norm because I say that in the most respectful way possible. Because when you mention to someone out in public, whether it's friend or family that don't really have an experience of RPGs or they do but don't really talk about it, you say I play solo RPGs on the side or on YouTube here or, you know, on my free time. They probably won't comprehend what you're talking about. Is like a game mode in an RPG? Do you play with another person but by yourself at first? Again, it's not necessarily a common everyday occurrence to ask that kind of question. But I'm glad it is out of the norm. When I stumbled upon it through Me, Myself, and Die, and eventually learning it myself, using whether it's AI or oracles or just dice rolling in general, no matter if the system that I'm using is breaded for solo play or it's entirely made for group play, it's been a roller coaster ride of fun. And I heavily enjoy it, and I still do. And even more to this day. So I really want to know what your experience is with solo RPGs. And I think it fits well with my first reasoning because how did you stumble upon it? And do you agree that it's out of the norm? This walks into the next number here, 2. From my point of view, it's an ever-growing community. I see it from my point of view because I don't know if there's like an official metric tracking how many solo RPG channels are on YouTube specifically or outside of YouTube on Reddit, but from my eyes, I keep stumbling upon more and more channels as small as mine, as large as Me, Myself, and Die. It's this growing window of solo RPG, and it's fascinating. Everybody has their unique approach uh, to this method of play. I certainly do. I'm all over the place. I'm very inconsistent. It seems to be on purpose now. Um, but it's a learning experience for me. And my channel has been, I've always signaled that this channel is experimental because I cannot find a pattern. I always find something new. I try different things. Like I mentioned earlier, AI is a big component, which this background is obviously generated by AI. And I've made a video about AI. I recommend watching that, AI versus analog. It touches on the internal conflict that people have with AI and traditional analog tabletop play. I recommend that. Seems to be garnering some attention. But with back to here, the amount of YouTubers I've stumbled upon that focus on solo RPGing is phenomenal. And it's a super nice community. Everybody seems to be very cordial, very experienced, and also very new to it. So it's a mixture of different perspectives and different generations. Whether it's someone like me who's just stumbled upon it within the last 2 years, or someone who's been playing since the 80s release of the original, 70s release of TSR's Dungeons and Dragons, original white box. So learning about all of these YouTubers, and they're not necessarily focused on solo play. They talk about it, but they will dabble with group play and other videos about RPGs. Like this one, I'm trying to do something different than just typical my typical play on tabletop. Just talking about solo RPGs, getting my thoughts out there, and hearing your guys' opinions in a shared experience. So uh, the community itself is obviously an unofficial community. It's an ever-growing one, and there seems to be a huge market for it at this moment. I've seen the numbers are climbing for me through viewership and through subscriber count, and that's astonishing to me. I didn't expect the speed of growth when I went back to traditional tabletop play. That shows, I think, that there is a huge amount of people in that how should I say this? Demographically, um, who enjoy traditional tabletop play just by watching others play it. That's mind bending for me. So I appreciate all that. That's what makes part of my main reason to continuing these videos is because the experiencing it is just as fun as it is. It's also intriguing to see other people's opinion and the amount of attention that my videos are getting. Though albeit small, compared to other monster channels, it's progress, and I love to see this growth. So uh, as I mentioned briefly, I said the word fun. Let's move on to number three. It is an escape from reality. This one can be very personal to a lot of people. Whether your reality, whether you're struggling financially, whether you've suffering through some personal matters, whether it's medically related, or through just, I'll leave it at that. Family related, friend related. When you turn on the recorder, if you record yourself playing like I do, or if you're just strictly at home by yourself and you're playing, you have a big tabletop available, you have a huge board game, or you have an RPG in mind, you have characters laid out on the table, or it's digitally on the platform like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or Virtual Tabletop. No matter the method, no matter the approach, it is an escape from reality. You get to sit in this world behind me and take control of X amount of player characters. No matter the engine, no matter you're using Savage Worlds or you're using Dungeon World, a lot of games with the name World in it, but no matter the engine, you get to immerse yourself in a reality that you want to see grow and expand and experiment with, which kind of leads into my next number four. But sticking with the reality concept, like I said, no matter how, if your life is fine, it's simple. If you're enjoying yourself and you're just dabbling in solo RPGing just for the excitement of it, just to try something different, that's also fantastic. So no matter the reasoning behind it, it can be your creative output. It can be your basically your entry point, the creative door you need to open to get into RPGing solo. For me, it's a big part of this escape from reality. I like I said, my life is straightforward. Work is busy at times, not overwhelming, but I still like to have moments every day for 30 minutes, an hour, where I'm recording my sessions here, playing an RPG, telling a story solo. And again, relating to the past too, it's astonishing to see the attachment people get on some of my videos. That's why I continue to make these. And I think the fifth reason is the most important, but Let's jump to number four, because escape from reality, that can be very personal. I don't want to press anyone's buttons on that, but it is an escape from reality because it is literally, that literally goes true when you play with with the friends online, whether it's online or in person at a tabletop, at a game store, at home, friend's house. That goes true for anyone who plays D&D, any game, Pathfinder, Warhammer, whatever game you play, board game, non-RPG, on the computer. Anything you do for fun, it's escape from reality, and that's a big component with solo RPGing because you have to leave yourself at the door. It's like going to work. You have to leave your personal matters at the door and kind of change personas and jump in to a different world. I hope that analogy makes sense. Like if you have a day job, 9 to 5, which mine's kind of not really. It's debatably morning to mid afternoon, sometimes at night. It's a strange job. But in any event, number four is the most creative one, in my opinion. It's experimental with creativity and problem solving. The first half of that, the first third of that, experimental. This has been my keyword for my channel for most of the time. I say that because it's kind of an excuse in some respects. Experimental meaning you are trying different approaches, you're trying different things, and they won't always stick. But for me at least, this whole channel is my experience, kind of a little documentary, if you will, of my experience recording these videos. And experience can be tied to experimental because you're using a level of creativity. I'm not talking about using AI as a cheat code to make these scenic pictures that you see in a doctor's office, but creativity with along with problem solving. So if you are embodying a player character that is very, very unique and has their own background, they are their own sentient being in your story, you need to be creative on how to portray them. I'm not an actor, that's obvious, but I do my best. If I choose to role play heavily on a certain moment in time, I do my best to portray that character, to figure how they walk, talk, and two smoking barrels along with problem solving when chaos ensues. Because chaos is a huge component with any RPG, whether it is Blade Runner, you're solving crime in a cyberpunk dystopian future, near future, or you are a elf running through the woods trying to track down some prey. That's trying to hunt some animals for food. But you get my idea. Creativity and problem solving is a huge mixture that is required when you experiment. And a lot of number four really sits on player characters, acting. So I probably could have wrote acting, but I thought experimental was a good little segue to my final um, my final number here. Five. When you experiment, it's just fun. Fun. That's really it. That's the closure here to this video. You have fun if you do things the way you want to. I have a tendency to try to follow the rules in games, but then I kind of go off track and tell myself, no, I should stick to the rules. And then I'm like, actually, you know what? Maybe save that for later. It's a juggling act for me. I'm again pretty terrible at this at times, but it's fun. That's all I care about really, because this ties number three really well. Escape from reality. And when you're outside of reality, it's just a fun experience. Your mind goes crazy with ideas and imagination, and if it's no matter how you play the game, as long as you're having fun, you don't really lose the interest. There have been times in my channel, this can kind of be seen as a con section of this video, cons. Most of these are all pros, but cons, which I didn't really plan on talking about. If you hit as if you're an author for a book, if you write a book as an author, you have writer's block. Your brain turns off. There's a brick wall. You cannot figure out what the heck to continue on. That happens with solo RPGing. You either lose interest, you get stuck at character creation, you can't go beyond that, you can't figure out what story or what setting to write or what setting to play in, you can't figure out what game rules because you have too many game books like I do. I keep buying them. You lose interest. It dries you out. You can't handle the amount of game mastery and player character role playing at the same time. Because solo play, you're taking on all the hats that you wear as a role playing in the role playing genre. But overall, it can be very fun. It's just hard to say that without considering the factors I just mentioned. You have to be ready for moments in role playing, solo role playing, that will cause a scuffle with yourself. There will be shenanigans where you'll be just pissed off. You are rolling terribly for one day, but that can also be a positive. If your character, like for example, Garlax, my three characters in my recent campaign, Shadowscape, has been so pathetic in rolling good hits, like especially my last test video, Savage Worlds Combat. He was rolling out by was only a few times, rolling pretty bad, but that's part of the fun, and it's laughable. So I mean, I'm trying to take those moments of sorrow that or they're moments of annoyance and making them laughably, fun to myself, like from my perspective as a player. So I'd say just push through those moments. Use tables, but don't use too many tables. Don't do what I do. I use way too many tables at times, or I have a lot of tables, don't really use them enough. It really it's in the moment. It's how you if you have a day job and if you're driving home, you're thinking, okay, today sucked. I need to just sit down and watch zip through Twitter or Instagram. Instead of doing that, I'm no doctor, no therapist, but instead of doing that, pop open a rules book and just read it. This is why I prefer things in physical form, physical copies. Obviously my huge part of my channel and my historical records. I played online digitally, recording the screen, but I've got into actually using physical copies. There's just some beauty of it. It's like I'm experiencing myself because I never did when I was younger. Actually having the physical books and being hooked on a genre, playing with a group of friends, role playing. It's just astonishing what I missed out on. That's a problem with me. I'm too much stuck in nostalgia. I'm trying to experience nostalgia as if I played these back in the 90s or so. But that's a story for another day. So just crack open a book, read through the rules, refresh your memory. Like I'm still trying to learn Savage Worlds. It is a light system, but there are so many mechanics to it that is modular. And try to picture what setting you want to do, especially those universal games like that or GURPS, generic role-playing system. Um, just don't think too hard on it because the struggle for me, I'll open up here. I've talked about this before. If you guys watch my other videos thoroughly, combat's my weakness. I'm really bad at combat, and I acknowledge that. And it's something I'm trying to find the perfect system to really make combat smooth. And Savage World seems to be really interesting. So don't let it bog you down if you hit a writer's block. And I think writer's block can really be set on content generation. I'm trying to figuring the narrative. So I can't even talk. Figuring the narrative, the world building. That is probably a better term to use here. So I think the word narrative really pisses off some really genuine, experienced game masters out there for some reason, and that's I don't want to press any buttons, but I'm curious as to why. I'm really wondering, actually, interested if you are an experienced game master and you don't see. I've heard this before from several YouTubers not to use that term during RPGing, tabletop RPG. It's not a narrative; it's a setting, and you are the composer of the adventure, causing the chaos to ensue. You want the player characters to go through it on their own, not really trying to tell a story, but trying to make it work mechanically. But again, that's a different topic. So if you're having trouble world building, as the game master, as the player characters, use tables. Even the books from the games can spark an idea. Use tarot cards. I've used tarot cards on and off throughout my time here. But I think tables work best. It depends on what table you use. You can use a one-page mythic, which is very vague, but it has a 2D100 descriptors, action descriptions. That can spark an idea. I at times try to, rattle my mind and just thinking of it on the spot, just randomly, without using tables or rolling dice. Ask questions to an oracle, D100 oracle. That's one. That's my favorite oracle is the D100 oracle. I just roll a percentile, consider the chances of it being a yes. If it's at or below that number, then it's a yes. If it's closer or below the bottom, 1 to 100, 1 to 10, it's a strong yes. If it's a 90 and above, it's a strong no. You can take those answers and compose it into the outcome itself. Morph the outcome from there. So it all goes back to just having fun. And if it isn't fun for you at that moment, if you are tired of playing solo RPGs by yourself, if you miss the fact of going to play with if you have a group of friends to play or online and meet people online through Reddit or communities at whatever channel you use, avenue you go through, if that sparks it for you, then great. So yeah, don't make it permanent for you. If it drives you crazy, like if you're addicted to it, take a break. Just take a break, come back to it. For me, at least, what brings me back, if I hit like a week or a month of, which hasn't been often lately, but it's been in the past, if you hit a roadblock and you lose interest, I took a break. I focused on work. I watched movies. I focused on personal matters. What got me back into it was YouTubers, other solo RPG channels. And it's not just me, myself, and Die. There is Bricks, Books and Boards, I think, with Justin. Bricks, Books and Boards, I believe his channel's called. His channel's fantastic. He's a big fan of Savage Worlds. He talks about solo play. He's very informative. His videos are well crafted, very formal. He speaks very clearly on topics, and I really recommend watching his videos. And there's hundreds of other smaller channels out there that I also recommend. So, like Lone Adventurer, the Dungeon Dive is a great one with board games. But yes, Me, Myself, and Die is on for me is on the top of the top. But if that helps you inspire you get back in, if that inspires you to get back into solo RPGs, then more power to you. So um, that's really it for the video. That's all I really wrote down. A lot of it expanded off number five, but I hope it helped you in some manner. I hope if you're a newcomer to solo RPGs and this gave you some idea what to expect from someone who just got into it, respectively, within a year, over a year now, then welcome. Um, like I said, my channel is growing. I've seen big garnering some more attention very slowly each day, which is fantastic, just judging by the analytics, which is great. So I'm going to keep making videos because they're fun. That's really it. That's the staple of this whole video. So just have fun, focus on the characters, create chaos, and see how they evolve. That's really it. So thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe, check out my other videos. Please comment because the conversations are far in between, and I'm noticing that there are some comments popping up every so often, but not enough, and I would like to see more. So take care, and I'll see you guys next time.